Well, this is a circle, H4, although it's not a circle, it's a square, but the reason it's called a circle because all British jails had a circle, and as you come from the Crum, you just called this a circle. But this would have been the first place you come in when you were sentenced, a prisoner. Once we came in, this would have been lined with screws, prison warders, maybe 10, 15. They would have lined us up and said, take your clothes off, you strip naked. Then it said, put your uniform on. Again, you refused by saying, as a Republican prisoner of war, I refuse to do prison work or wear prison garb. At that point, this is where the baiting started. And it could have lasted maybe, it seemed to last more, it probably only lasted about 30 seconds, but it was pretty severe. And then you were trailed to your cell. The circle had a lot of things in it, like for instance, the circle, when you were getting moved from wing or going out to see the governor, they would have brought you to this wall here and told you to face it. But as we were non-cooperative with the prison officers, we didn't do anything that they told us to do, only what our own OCs told us to do. So we refused, so the next thing what they would have done was smashed our heads against this wall and held us to this wall, because every time they let us go, we had to turn around. So every time we turned around, we got smashed up. So the circle is a kind of scary place. And at least when you're in your cell, when you were in your own cell, you were by yourself, but there was always screws in the circle, and it's just a scary place, you know? And brings back bad memories, actually, the old circle. That's the basis of the circle. We'll go to the B wing, H4. This is where you would have been brought, trailed. Seems so funny now. This is my old wing coming up H and H4, B wing, through the grills. Now we're entering H4. This is the orderly cell, which was called the orderly cell. This is another place where baitings were regular, where you got cell searched, and when you were getting cell searched, you get brought up in here, into this here, which was called the orderly cell. It's the double cell. And in here, this is where you would have got pretty severe beatings. There would have been maybe 4 screws, and they kind of spread eagled you and bait you. This is just where they brought you. I don't know why they brought you up here, because they could have bait you anywhere, but this was the place where they brought you. And it used to be an orderly cell where there was 4 prisoners could be in it, but it was never used really for that. It was used for beatings. So I'll go up to my cell. It's a bit shivery. And that's the canteen. Cell 19. Kieran Dockery would have been in this cell, one of the hunger strikers. This was his cell when I was in H4. God rest his soul. And this here is my old cell. Spent 4 years in here, 4 years solid in this cell here. Me in the cell with Peter. Looks so small now. Seemed bigger then. Because you used to exercise, so I don't know how we exercised in it. And if you can imagine the size of it. Yeah, that's a bit dreary. I remember the Christmases in this place. Even Christmas, the brutality happened. Like your dinner was brought and through on the floor, and it's just prison officers would have stood in your dinner. but we were not hungry to eat it anyway. And I can remember one incident, 3 days before Christmas, we were getting forced waste. We were on the no waste protest, and we were getting forced waste, and the orders came across the fight. We had a fight to screws. Usually it was just non-cooperation, but new orders were given out that we had a fight. So we were all apprehensive about it, but we had to do it. And it happened 3 days before Christmas, and we heard the first cell door opening, the beatings, and went right through. Just every 10 minutes an hour cell opened. And then it was coming to my cell, cell 19. This was about 1 o'clock, and they stopped. Just stopped dead for lunch. And that was worse because we just wanted to get the beating over. And the funny thing, the hour side hadn't been completed yet, but the funny thing about the whole thing was Big Doc, one of the hunger strikers who's dead, he says, look lads, keep our spirits up, let's have a sing song. So the funny thing, it was near Christmas and they said, we'll do Christmas carols, and therefore we started off with Silent Night. So that lifted our spirits a bit, and then in the afternoon the beatings started. Really what happened was, they came in, they were stupid. There was about 6, 7 kind of a wee cell, I guess, so they couldn't really get beaten you because there's too many in. When they got you out, they trailed you up, cut your hair on a chair up above here, just shaved your head, put you in the bath, then put you out, spread eagled you, and used scrubbing brushes on you. They scrubbed you, cleaned you, and then that was it. You were washed. But that was the only time we got forced washed. Like, you know, I was about 6 months after the no waste protest started, and it was, once it was all over, you know, it was okay. But at the time, it was just one of them things you dreaded. And usually after that, the most brutality happens during wing moves. That's when they come in to clean your cell at the no waste protest. So what happened in wing moves? They took you out. So I'm going to move out and show you. They take you out, and you walked up to here, and the screws would have been up here. And what they would have done would have been like screws linked up. And once you went up there, they had a big mirror, and what they done was they said to you to bend. So you were like this here. You were naked, like, and they told you to bend. Well, again, we were non-cooperative, and we wouldn't bend. So at that point, ones would have grabbed you by the arms like that, and the others would have pushed you down. Then what they done was, once they got you down, they would have probed your anus with their fingers. This is what they call a search, like. And then after that, they done your ears with the same finger, then done your mouth with the same finger. And then usually you would have got a beating in most wing shifts. Most wing shifts you got a beating. Wing shifts and visits, because you had to go through the mirror search. And again, we didn't cooperate with them anyway at all. And you know, it was just our way of fighting back, non-cooperation. Again, it did get us beatings, but this is part of the being in here. This whole block was built in brutality. You know, was then, you know, good about it. There was good times too, like, don't get me wrong, we had some good times, like, you know, where we kind of maybe smuggled tobacco in. You know, we had a kind of what we'd call a wee party. We smuggled our tobacco in, made cigarettes. What we would have done was shot them across from cell to cell. You had a button and a bit of thread, and you flicked the button over, and the button went across. And then what you done was tie your cigarettes to the button and cut them across. That's how you swap things about. And the cells too, if you wanted to swap to your next door mate, you had your blanket. We had all the windows broke. We had all these windows smashed, and we were able to swing stuff into next door. And our communication was, that's not me, holes here, because these buildings are prefab and we're dropped them by crane. So when the crane dropped them in, there was holes. So when the crane dropped them in, we found these holes and knocked them out. And that's how we've done all our communication too. But again, the screws found that and blacked out. Anything we done, they counteracted. But having said that, we were as smart as them, and we always, but one time that when the windows, what they done was, they put this new plastic stuff out on the windows to stop us swinging. And one of the screws said to me in the visits, it'll take Semtex to get them off. But little did he know we had already planned what we were going to do. what we done was with all our ration of butter, we kept it for about 3 weeks, put it on the windows and sat in the light, melted the plastic. So the hose is down that day. They came in with a high-powered hose and hosed us down, which is funny too, like. But everything that they done, we done something different. And another thing after we done that, we made wee pulleys. But you know, the strangest thing, and I find this hard to believe, what you done was to get your line made up. You can have very light thread, so the wind caught it with a wee bit of tissue on it, wee bit. And once they connected to both cells, then you thickened up the wool from the blanket. You took the threads of the blanket and thickened it up. But the best way to do it was, because we had all long hair and we hadn't kind of washed and shaved, if you strand your hair together really light and tied the car, that was dead light. And once you got the connection, so what happened, it was wee pulleys. And the funny thing, the governor came, and here's the governor came, and he says, I heard him saying to the R screw, one of my men must be helping them with this, nobody could do this. Little they know was no helping with screws at all. And it's just this funny things what they've done is, like, you know, like everything we done, they tried to counteract. Like when we threw the urine out, they brushed it back in, and then they come up with a disinfectant, they choked us to death, you know. And I remember in our one time, one winter, I think it was one of the worst winters in Northern Ireland in record, and a screw who on that name, I know he's dead, like, now. He decided if we tried to turn the heating off at night, just for a laugh, and he turned the heating off, and we all near froze to death. At that time there was no windows in, so you can imagine a concrete block. And the screws came in the next day, they knew there was something up, because we were, the snow and all had come in all over us, and it was really cold. I don't know how we didn't have hypothermia that night. But again, this is just some of the things that they've done, you know. Like, for instance, stealing your food. Like, we're bottling enough fed, and they would have stole our food. Like, when we got fish on the Friday, they would have cut it in half. So that meant they got fish, you know, things like this. And when there was a bread strike on, they took our bread. We stupid things like this they done, and I suppose the way they've seen it, all fair and a little more, you know, and we were the enemy, you know what I mean, and this is what we expected them, like. And the worst times was kind of weekends when we were drunk, which coming into a job, I guess you'd think wouldn't be allowed, but on most occasions of the weekend they were drunk. And that's when you were worried about if you got it beaten while you were drunk, because when they were beating you other times, they knew not to kill you, like, because they knew not to kill you, but a drunken screw wouldn't have a clue what he was doing. So these were the worrying times. Visits on a Saturday afternoon were bad, because again, you get drunken screws, you know? Because I remember on an occasion, one time, I went down to visit, and the screw on the way down was brilliant, and he didn't, usually in our visits, they sat right beside you, and you know, it's stop you smuggling, like, and sat right beside you, like, stop you smuggling, stop you talking, like, basically. But this occasion, the screw was brilliant, and he talked to me the whole way down. He says to me, you know, is your mother up to see you? I says, it must be hard, and he says, I'll not be near you, and he let me go, and it was brilliant. I thought this was great, like. But on the way back, we got to this wing, and there were shorter screws. It was a Saturday afternoon, there were shorter screws, and one of the screws says, will you give us a help to give him a mirror search? And he says, I'll give you a hand. And next thing I know, he went berserk. That he dug me in the head and fucking near ripped the backside clean off me. I was pouring my blood, he just went berserk. So I don't know if he was pervert or what he was. It's just the change in him from the visit till this incident, you know. And I always wondered about him, because other than that, you know, and he just walked away as if nothing happened, as if it was like Jekyll and Hyde type of character. So things like that was kind of funny, like, not funny, but you wondered what was going through their minds, like, you know. But this black holds lots of memories, like, as I say, lots of friends. And then, you know, finally, when, suppose, I remember the day we came off the No Wash protest, and again, a funny wee incident, went off the No Wash protest, but my hair was down to about here, I suppose, and the beard was here. And I got called for a visit, which the minute I got off the No Wash protest, I think it was a Monday, and the screws came that we said that we're going to wash, and the screws taken back, but we knew because the hunger strike was about again. And I got a visit, and I got called out. So I was the first to get washed, and the funniest thing, I got my hair washed. It was the first time in 4 years, like, and the hair was like a fucking big sissy. It just blew out like that there, and the beard shaped. I was like a big poof, and I went out to the visit, and then when I was coming back, the guys were all out in the wing getting washed, and there's a new man on the wing that didn't even know me. So it was funny, you know. And then I was disgraced. So right away, I just went up and said, "Get this shaved off." So I got myself skinheaded. So it was funny that way. And the way they said, they really believed they didn't know me, you know. And there was another thing, which it was a wee thing that we used to do too. Now, it had to be somebody very good. See, if you had to get material from that block to that block, what you done was, you had one of the apples that you got, right, and again, made a rope, and you were able to throw it right. A couple of times you would have had it, but you finally got it, and then again, at night, you could pulley things over. You know, it was just, that was, you only done that if it was an emergency. You didn't do that often. That was just like a real kind of emergency, like, you know. If there had to be important information, you know, swapped or anything. And then H5 would have shouted the news over to us because, you know, the screws in the H5 were a bit more lenient with them at times, and they would have shouted the football results over every Saturday night. And the one thing I used to hate hearing, and I used to despise hearing it, because it's all spoken Irish, and what they used to shout over was, instead of shouting, say there was something done outside, like there was a shooting or a killing, and this time, this was a bad one, this happened in Armagh, and they opened up in the prison officers, women prison officers, I think they killed one, I think they threw grenades at them and opened up. And again, when I heard it, here's me, there's going to be reprisals for this. And the thing I used to hate to hear was Agrach Rob Collins. That meant Rob Collins' organisation, that meant the INLA done it. Because they couldn't say INLA in Irish was too long, so it just says, and once I heard that, I went, oh, and fair enough, within 20 minutes my cell door opened. And that was me out for a good out baiting. But that was just some of the, I'm trying to remember some of the things, you know, the different wee things that happened. And then again, there was, with funny times in H4, because with a guy called Paddy, he was funny, like, you know. What you used to say to the screw was, if the screw came to you and the screw said to you something, you said, "See me, OC." But that's okay saying it, but when bad times were up, see, one time we had a weekend here and we called it the Shack na Dana, the bad week. This was established brutality where the authorities decided that funny enough, to pick my block and my wing, H4, to test a week of beatings out, to get us off the blanket. So it lasted, we called it the Shack na Dana, the bad week. And there was something, we recorded something like 440 beatings in that week. And at the end of the day, the priest who came in, Father, he actually threw a chair at the screws when he seen the state of us. You know, because we were scalded with water and, you know, like our teeth through around us and things like that, and beatings. And but again, we never lost one man. We never lost one man off the protest. And at the day it ended, that was it. But what happened was the screws must have wanted to continue. And on the Monday, they went in and gave John a terrible head, and he's a guy from. But at that point, something must have happened because all the suit people came in and all, and it was all stopped. So that's why we knew it was established. It was a kind of, you know, hitness. But anyway, one of the things, Pat, during the bad week, we came to him and he said, "Go and see the OC." So I went and seen the OC and gave him a good head. So not funny, but at the time he should have. See, the next time you tell him, don't be telling him I'm the OC. When I was up seeing Mickey Devine in his last couple of days, I was up in my capacity as OC of the Irish National Liberation Army prisoners, and I spoke to Mickey. Mickey Devine was the last to die, and I spoke to him a couple of days, I think it's 4 or 5 days before he died, and at that point he was still very adamant that he was carrying on the hunger strike. And really it was a very sad time for me, because at the point of Mickey dying, the hunger strike was wasn't going perfect. Like, the people were taking them off it, which, you know, it's understandable. And I went up to see Mickey to see how he felt, because if Mickey had wanted to come off it, there was not a problem. There never was a problem with anyone. But Mickey was very adamant that he was going to see us through, and I just left, and 4 days later he died. So when Mickey, I think it was this cell, because my memory's a wee bit hazy at the minute in this, what's the exact cell, but all the cells seem the same. And one thing about this prison hospital, it's not a very nice place to call a hospital. Why they call it a hospital, I do not know. They probably would have been better leaving the men and the blacks with their comrades, rather than let them die up here. But anyway, after Mickey died, the hunger strike ended, and history tells the rest. But it's a very sad place. As you see, there's not much difference, a bit bigger than the Hates blocks. Not much difference, but they're just a wee bit bigger. Same bars, same type of thing. So, and for people to die here, in a sad place like this, 10 men.